your tech wizardry for helping us get this officially streamed. Thought we had it locked in. And then it was like, nope, sorry, you don't have permission. I was like, what? So she is our little savior this morning and helping us pull this off. So thank you for being here. And I'm just so excited about this conversation because I feel like as much awareness has been made about the diet industry and how that can really harm our health versus promote actual true vitality and wellness long term. So many women, especially, are still kind of like attached to the scale, attached to the
Yeah.
number as a metric of their health and their wellness. And so I can't wait to have you share about your journey and these 4 phases to really kind of ditch the scale for good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I'm excited to share it with you guys too, because women will go on an average of 147 diets in their lifetime.
Oh,
That's
wow.
a true fact. And so I was definitely probably into 200 diets at the time that I decided that I wasn't going to do that anymore. And I was going to try to tune in and listen to my own body. This was about 6 years ago. And I was on like the diet to end all diets where I was doing keto, intermittent fasting, calorie counting, and like paleo all combined into this one thing. And I thought I was doing myself a favor by piling on all of the like the latest, healthiest trends of things. And I was weighing myself every day in order to get the scale down. And to be completely honest with you, I was doing this because I didn't feel worthy of coaching without being at a certain number. And so
Mm,
this was like at kind of like at the beginning middle of my coaching career, and I was still thinking about it. And so I knew in that moment where I stepped on the scale and I thought about all the diets I was doing. And at that point, I was getting night sweats. I had this pain underneath of my ribs because my gallbladder was not functioning properly. And I was putting myself through all of that at the expense of my own well being because I just wanted the scale to say a certain number.
mm,
And the day that I stepped on the scale and I didn't see what I wanted to see after putting myself through so much, including hatred, right? Like every day waking up, how am I going to control myself today in order to get that number what I want it to be? I decided to pick up my scale and run over it with a car. So that's what I did.
please tell me you've got
uh,
a video of that.
I wish I had a video of it. It's so clear in my mind. I remember the sound. I remember the crunch. I remember the
Mhm.
celebratory like shouts between me and my friend who had also come over to weigh herself. Like, I weighed myself in weigh stations, at gas stations, in gyms, at Weight Watchers groups, at weight loss groups, like everywhere, anywhere there was a scale, people, friends' houses, anytime there's a scale out. And the day that I ran over that was the first step to
Mhm.
complete freedom. And what I do today is to take women from feeling like they want that number and instead deciding that number one, there's a unique plan for me that doesn't have to do with the scale. It has to do with my feelings, my life, what I want for myself. And if the actions I'm taking are in alignment with my life and the way I want to feel, into what I call conscious choices and making their health a priority.
Yeah.
So what I know you do this too, Sam, it's like the embodiment of movement and of love and of health and of clean living leads you to a more powerful self that can be in the world.
Mhm.
And that's what I found with a lot of the nutritional things, snaps.
Yes.
Also, yeah,
Oh my gosh, yes. And like this whole group is about conscious living. So I just love how our messages,
there
our
you go.
journeys, like so spot on. And thank you for sharing your journey because I think a lot of people think that when you get into the phase where you're ready to start coaching and sharing your wisdom with others, that you have everything figured out. And there's a part of us that is expanding, there's a part of us that's contracting and growing and always just being in that self development. But to really paint the picture, um, because I think when people think diets, they think like just one. And it was cool how you layered in, like, actually, I was doing kind of like 5 or 6 diets at the same
Yeah.
time because I don't think a lot of people would consider paleo per se like a hard on diet.
Hmm.
And just when you're putting those like rigid rules around what you're eating, like you do, all of a sudden you're like contorting into multiple diets all at once, even if you think you're just taking elements that are the healthiest, the newest. and trying them out. But what I heard you saying in there, which was really key, is you, because of the number, because of these diets and like outsourcing the information,
Yeah.
you were dissociating from your body, from
Yeah.
the signals that it was like something's not kicking right. Like I need you to listen. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
if I just keep doing these things, I'll get there, when your body was telling you like this isn't the way.
100%. Like and you said it exactly right. I was outsourcing everything, including my worth, right?
Mm.
On the scale, outsourcing my worth on the scale, outsourcing my worth and my process to other things instead of listening in to what was going to work for me. And it turned out, paleo really, I'm a huge fan of clean living, of clean eating. I think that's really great. But if you're following and subscribing to one thing, then you're still not listening to your body. So you can use something to help you on a journey to help navigate, but there's still within that is a sense of finding yourself and knowing what actually works for you. And that's what my 4 phases are about, is tuning into what's actually working for you so that you want to continue to work for it. It turns out I have an almond sensitivity, which I didn't have before I went all paleo and replaced every single grain product with almond products. And I was like, I'm so sick, hello. So, you replace one thing with an abundance of something else. It doesn't mean it's a health food necessarily. It's not going to work for every person. So, without replacing all of my refined flour with almond flour, I'm the healthiest I've ever been in my entire life. So, we can't continue to follow those rules.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And just to realize that, like what you said, what works for one and gets that huge recognition isn't necessarily going to work for everyone. So it's like you get to try them on, you get to experiment with this different information, but to ultimately let your body be the guide. And I love how you said like you were outsourcing your worth, because when you were speaking it and like you didn't see the number on the scale that you had wanted, it's like we were looking for approval. Like, am I
Yeah.
good today? Like, did I do it right? And that's the last place to really seek that through. So tell me about these 4 phases and
Sure.
what that process looks like to start to find your worth within and to trust yourself, to listen to the signals of your body when you might have never, that was never a conversation before. It was like doctors know best, diets, like everything's out there. Like
Yeah.
you just feel all this ickiness inside and you got to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So, I didn't start to really understand how to drop into myself and into my body until I started going into energy healing.
Mhm.
And so through a process of energy healing and working with my coach who's energy healing and working with me on tuning into what my needs were, I kept outsourcing, right? So once I started to turn into my own needs, and then I started working with other women in doing this, I realized that there's 4 what I call symptoms of imbalance that are problematic for the body. So rather than looking at the scale for results, we want to look at these 4 symptoms of imbalance that are inside of the body, that if we pay attention to those, we're tuning in to what's actually going on for us and what we might need to shift and change. So we go from a place of, first, it starts with our thoughts about ourselves. So this is like pre-phase work. Okay. So first we start with the thoughts that we're having about ourselves, the vision for our best life, and the negative thoughts that we need to release. I know you do a lot of this work too, Sam, the negative things that we need to release, and then the things that we want to have. And we continue to focus on those things. As we move forward, we go into the first phase of the program. And the 4 phases are: how's my mood? How's my digestion? How's my focus? And how are my energy levels? And those things in order are on purpose, because I find that prioritizing your mood and hormone balancing is going to help correct some of the digestion stuff. Correcting some of the digestion is going to help with the energy levels, or with the focus and with your brain power. And then by that point, most people have really great energy.
Yep.
So rather than stepping on the scale and saying like, oh, look, I lost 2 pounds today, say, checking in, how's my mood today? How's my digestion? How's my focus? And how are my energy levels? And it's part coaching and part education on how do I balance my mood in the first phase of the program so that I can feel better, and I have the self-worth, and I have the confidence, and I have the mood to take action. And one of the things that always got in my way that I noticed with a lot of women is that, listen, if you're in a foul mood, like, and you're self-loathing and you don't feel right, then you're not going to take action for your health.
Yeah.
right? And there's different ways of blasting through that. And Sam, I know you do it through movement and through dance and through music, which is so beautiful. And on a foundational health level, combining something like that with also really looking at your refined sugar and refined flour intake, which can cause hormonal imbalances. And this doesn't mean give up everything all forever ever, but it does mean that if you're feeling really moody, there's likely some blood sugar imbalances that are going on and some imbalances in serotonin uptake that can be affected by those foods. So we have to look like a detective and say, wow, you know what, I'm really relying on these things a lot. I wonder what it would be like to replace some with more natural things like honey or maple syrup. Or I wonder what it would be like to not have ice cream every night after dinner. I wonder what it would be like. We get to come in and ask ourselves these really powerful questions and say, because my mood is affected, I feel like I can't show up in my life fully the way that I'm lashing out, or the way that I'm tired, or the way that I feel like I just can't. And I remember those days where it felt like, you know what, I just can't today. But we can actually switch using powerful mindset work from the pre-thought work and for our best selves, as well as really looking at how is our body utilizing sugar, and is it optimal or not? So that's a part of the mood phase. The second part of the mood phase is just looking at our sleep. So how are we going to optimize our sleep? How do we make sure that our sleep is really restful? I heard this thing the other day that that life really happens when we're sleeping. So we tend to think like, I'm going to maximize my life and do all the things and everything during the day, and so I don't need much sleep. But actually, our subconscious and our restfulness and our rejuvenation is happening in our sleep. So can we get excited about that and be like, yes, I'm going to live my best life in my sleep tonight. This is going to be amazing. I'm going to wake up and like new things, new regeneration, a new life awaits for you because you slept. It's amazing, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
And I feel like we definitely grew up with that I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, can we, like you said, can we be excited for sleep? I know I'm not like a good napper. I don't wake up happy when I nap. I kind of wake up kind of cranky if I nap midday. But if I don't get like a solid 8-9 hours of sleep at night, like I am dragging the next day. Then my mood's foul. Then my focus is foul. My energy, like all of those things that you spoke about, it really is that domino effect. And it's not fun. And so it's like, instead of wearing it the hustle as a badge of honor, instead of wearing boss babe as a badge of honor, or that you don't need any sleep, that you can do it all. It's like, you might be able to do it all in this season, but that season is going to be a short season. It's not meant to be your entire life.
Yeah, totally not at all. So I really prioritize sleep for myself, and I ask my clients to do it too. We want to wake up and feel like we're ready to live our best lives, not be like, oh God, another grind. I have a weed whacker situation happening over here, so I'm going to shut my door. Give me a second.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, I am obsessed with this conversation, you guys. And I just dropped, Helen has an awesome opt-in for you that helps you kind of assess these different symptoms and imbalances that you might be experiencing. So if you're listening to this conversation and you're like, oh my gosh, my mood has kind of been all over the place, definitely check that out. I dropped it in the comments, and that'll help give you even more just awareness building tools.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, the one thing that the opt-in doesn't include is the thought work. That's like a lot of the deeper work, and all my program comes with affirmations that go with every phase, just so that you can kind of check in with yourself. But I find that it's really important to when connecting with yourself, it's hard to kind of write on paper how that's going to go. So some of the thought work isn't really included in there, but is a huge part of what helps us be successful, is the way that we speak to ourselves. So consider the questions that are in the opt-in, and always thinking to yourself, how can I create this as my unique plan? How can I be committed to my health? How can I prioritize myself? Things like that. Okay. So second phase number 2 is your digestion. So for me, back when I was really in the thick of dieting, and this is before my last pile all the diets on thing, I was diagnosed with IBS. I had horrible gas and bloating. I just didn't feel well. I had joint pain and I wasn't well at all. And at that time, I was a vegetarian and I was eating a lot of soy protein. And again, like this was another diet that I was on. This is back in my 20s. And I didn't realize that I was really destroying my gut health with the types of things I was eating, like a lot of processed food. I was not an educated vegan vegetarian. I was just sort of like a Hail Mary, like, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Give me the green juice and the tofu and anything that's soy protein all of the time. And at that time, I was so sick. I went to get an endoscopy and a colonoscopy, and they're like, "Sorry, there's nothing There's nothing in here. Blood tests." All of that. They're like, "You're fine. Here's another pill to put on top of all these other pills that you're taking already for depression, right? For depression,
You're
for anxiety,
so fine,
for sleep."
Helen. You're so fine.
So you're fine. You're fine. Here, everybody has, right? Everybody has IBS. Here, just take this thing. Oh my God. And that was probably the first time that I realized that I didn't want to, I wanted to find an answer for myself, because I knew deep, like my intuition, my spidey senses finally like told me something that day. And I was not well. I was not starting to take care of myself yet. But I knew something was off. And so I started to investigate a little bit about what could be going on for me. Turns out like my body doesn't tolerate soy. So that was the first food that I realized was impacting my personal digestion. I know that's not true for everybody, but for me, that's what happened. So in this phase of digestion, we look at what I call individual inflammatory foods, which varies by person to person. I have my clients' food journal for me. And as soon as I see evidence of reflux, gas, bloating, joint pain, anything that can be connected to digestion, then I get in there and I'm like, it looks like you could have a sensitivity to this thing. This is what's causing that inflammation. And I remember when I was gassy, like again, just like the mood stuff, you don't want to take care of yourself. You're like, I feel like crap anyway. I don't want to do anything, like I don't want to work out today. I don't want to put on my clothes because I feel bloated. Like that feeling alone sends these signals to your brain that you suck.
Mm-hmm. And it just
Just
creates
that
this
feeling.
awful loop. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in order to get out of that, have you been in that? Yeah, right. So in order to get out of that loop, of course, we do the thought work. I choose, and the thought that I like to go along with that is I choose foods that make me thrive. And so we get out of this idea that the foods are diet foods or not, but does this food make me thrive or not? And there are certain, right? Inflammatory foods that we can look at very specifically, but sometimes it's totally random. And it'll be like, I had one client, it was garlic, and she's like, but I'm Italian. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm telling you, this food is causing inflammation in your body and it's creating a problem. For another client, for me, it was almonds. So it can be something that you wouldn't even necessarily think
a health
of.
Food.
A health food, exactly. So what I encourage anybody who's watching to do, if you experience digestive distress, like just write it down. Again, be your own health detective. Write it down and write down the symptoms that you're experiencing. And the top inflammatory things that people don't think about are soybean oil, inflammatory oils like seed oils, so canola oil or grapeseed oil, sunflower oil. Those types of things can cause gastro distress for some people, and gums and thickeners. So xanthan gum, guar gum, carob bean gum, which is in a lot of processed food, of course. So if you're experiencing any of that and you think that you're following a healthy diet, following a healthy way of being, just look out for those things, because if they're causing your gastro, you're going to be stuck. Your energy is going to be stuck in your digestion. You're going to be stuck in your thoughts. You're going to think it's not working for you. And then that's when we kind of self-sabotage.
100%. And our gut is our second brain, right? It has such a huge influence on mood, which they're just starting to discover more and more within like the last decade of really showcasing how that brain gut connection really works. But I think what's important about the digestion piece is it does not always result in bloating or cramping or reflux, right? Like the typical things that we associate with digestive challenges. Like for me, mine really was full body joint pain. It wasn't a gastritis type effect for me. And so it was in my mood, it was in brain fog. And it didn't take the doctors because the doctors didn't discover it. It was an acupuncturist who muscle tested me. And it
Yeah.
was 7 years into my chronic pain journey that I found out I was intolerant to gluten and dairy. And had that not happened, I would have continued to just stay in this ball of inflammation. They told me I just have to learn how to live with it. I was self-loathing, like my body's failed me, like all of this horrible
Yeah.
self-dialogue when my body's just like, help, help. And I
Yeah.
didn't know how to listen to it.
Yeah. So tuning in, and I do muscle testing too. So thank you for sharing that. That's a process that I go through with my clients in person. It's a bit more of an intuitive journaling approach when we're virtual,
Mhm.
but similar energy exchange. Yeah, it's amazing what we can find out about the body. And when we resolve it, we don't want to give up. So, again, the difference between going on a diet where we're like, I'm on the diet today or I'm not on the diet today versus connecting these things to yourself and being like, oh my gosh, this is my true nutrition. For me, it's made for me. This is true
Mhm.
for me. And I know it's true for me because I can see it and feel it and experience it, makes it worthwhile so that you can live your life.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
it's so
And the
amazing.
other part of that is of digestion, and I put movement in there. So, Sam,
I'm like, eh.
how does movement help digestion? Like when you think about your process and really like being in your body and doing these beautiful vibe things, which I had the pleasure of experiencing, by the way, it resolved my back pain. Just want to put it out there. Like really, I had had back pain for maybe like 3 weeks, and I'm like
Oh,
over it.
wow.
And then we had our vibe session, and it really freed things up for me. And I feel very like gentle and supple in my body and in my digestion. So I'm sure you've seen things like that happen with movement because it takes less than an hour or 20 minutes even to move lymph around your body when you're moving versus
Mhm.
24 hours if you're not moving in a
Ooh, I didn't
day.
know that fun
Yeah.
fact. I mean, I knew
Yeah.
like I know how the lymphatic system works and it doesn't have a pump, it has our muscles, but like that exact like little fun fact, I did not know that. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's so cool that it helped with your back pain because I have so much like what are those like little light up boards from like the 90s where it was like dark, but then
Oh,
you take kind of little light ups. It's wasn't an
light
etch and
bright.
sketch. Light bright, yes.
Yeah.
So I feel like my body is constantly like pinging sensation around and I can get in the mindset of this is pain,
Mhm.
or I can get in the mindset of this is sensation. My body's speaking to me. It's telling me that there's like some clogged energy in this area. And so when we move, like you said, we're activating our muscles, which is the pump for our lymphatic system, which is going to be that garbage disposal system, if you will, throughout our body. And so when we move and we dance, we allow that energy to, instead of being stuck and stagnant and clogged, we allow the energy to just move in the way that the body naturally knows how to process and move stuff. And then if you think of like, we can get twists involved, which are going to
Yeah.
help kind of massage and work out our guts and help
Yeah.
move stuff through there that might have been really clogged as well. So, those are like kind of the core ways that movement can help. Also, just like metabolizing, you think of digestion, but when we move and we breathe, we metabolize life, we metabolize experiences that have
Mhm.
happened to us because we're allowing them to just kind of simmer in the background as we just allow our body to move versus like that experience happened. I'm stuffing it down. I'm moving forward with my day. It's like,
Yep.
nope, I'm just going to allow my body to honor like whatever life I've been moving through recently. So we're helping ourselves kind of metabolize life, which helps our digestive instead of being like, she's stuck. This is
Yeah.
a hard experience. She can't handle, like, we're going to lock down. Like, our whole body feels that kind of grin and bear it mentality that we can often have in life. I just got to get through it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, a lot of our emotions are stored in the gut as well, and a lot of our memories and a lot of our feelings and past experiences and stress, right? So when we're stressed, like you can kind of feel how like everything sort of tightens up and holds on in our nervous systems. Like I
The
can't tell you how many women
butterflies.
come to me constipated, and it's because their nervous system
Mm,
is out of whack. So balancing our digestion with some sort of movement that really fuels you and honors your
hmm.
body and your intentions. I love the intention work that you do, Sam. I do a lot of that with my 5K and strength training people too, is a part of just balancing out the body. And the more
Mhm.
connected we are with ourselves, the more our digestion is going to be healthy
Mhm.
and flowing. It's just one of
Yeah.
those things that we don't often think about.
And that's our center, right? Like our
Yeah.
gut area is our center. And when we move, like you don't realize how much you move from that area until you have a back injury. And then
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah, totally.
literally everything is connected to that core center of us. So there's so many layers of how it's benefit, how it aids in our health. And one of the things that I love that you say so much is that through health discovery, through learning and tuning inward, like you're truly discovering yourself and not just like being a random number on the planet to what is my
Yes.
unique blueprint? Like, who am
Yeah.
I meant to be? Like, I chose to come into this body at this specific time in the world. Like, what is my unique path of
Yeah.
discovery and self-expression? And we can only unlock that if we unlock our health.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. We can't oversimplify our bodies to a number. We can't oversimplify it. I try to make health simple by giving this approach and by like really thinking about it, but we can't oversimplify by saying that when I'm, whatever weight, that means that I'm healthy again. That means that
Mhm.
I get to love myself again. No, we get to say like, wow, I'm really honoring my mood today. I can feel myself uplifted. And that's really important to me. I'm really honoring my digestion today by choosing these foods that make me thrive. And that makes me feel good. And that makes me feel powerful and amazing. And as a result, we release more stress and more inflammation from our body more easily when we focus on
Mhm.
these other things.
Absolutely.
Um, the third one is focus. And so with our focus, I do intention setting and morning routines. So a bit of
Yeah.
the, stuff that's familiar from some of the work you do with, how do I want to be? Who do I want to be? What's important to me? To really ground us in our experience is our lifestyle part of that. And then the nutritional component of that is healthy fats. So just getting our brains on board with plenty of
Mhm.
healthy fats, like a lot of omega 3s. Fish if you eat that, but like chia seed, healthy nuts, dry roasted nuts, seeds, that type of stuff to help our brains really function optimally. I use a lot of MCT oil in
Mhm.
my practice. Like I don't know if you
Mhm.
use MCT oil. Yeah. And I really find that when we can optimize our healthy fats, that it feels like when we have enough healthy fats, it's like nothing feels like an emergency anymore. So we can go through our day and it's like, I got to eat, I got to do this, I got to do this, and like stress signals all over the place. But I find it just like smooths out the
Mm.
brain synapses and helps calm down inflammation so that it's kind of like, okay, it's time to eat now. Okay, it's time to get some water. Like things start to not feel like such a big deal and so dramatic when our healthy fat intake is up. So I find that it does drive much more focus in our life when we can prioritize that.
I love that. It's such like a I love fun visuals, and that is like a good visual to get around because, oh, again, if you think of like all the food pyramids, the diets, like all the things throughout time, it's like remember the low fat era, and
Oh yeah.
our brain is predominantly fat, and so
Yeah.
we need that healthy fat because when just knowing my understanding of the body, when I heard that example, what I pictured was this like shriveled up brain that's kind of like a rusted bike wheel where it's like it's still going, but it's like real creaky, it's real
Yeah.
irritated, like it just can't, like you said, that smooth ride that you want on a bike. You're not really getting that when you've kind of shriveled up and gotten to that bare bones fat level that we really need to thrive.
Yeah.
So yeah, no low fat because low fat only means more sugar. And
That's right.
how are some of the ways that you'd like to use MCT oil with people? Is it more in like dressings or how do you tend to utilize it?
It depends on the person, but a lot of my clients really enjoy their coffee.
Nice.
So blending it into the coffee in the morning or into tea
Mhm.
is helpful. I love these little herbal tonics by a place called Alchemy Company, and she's based out of Vermont. And so I'll do like, I'll choose the flavor if it's turmeric or if it's vital greens or if it's the cocoa one or
Mhm.
whatever, like whatever kind of thing that I want to go for that day. And I'll put it in my smoothie or in my coffee and just blend it up.
Okay.
So yeah, some people will make dressings, can't cook with it. I'm sure you know that. Or some people just take it as a supplement, but I find it's like kind of gets stuck in here. It's like,
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on
that's
that
not
one
my
too.
first choice.
I love the idea of just like putting it into a smoothie or tea, because like I've got my tea right here, and I've known about like bulletproof and doing it with coffee, but for whatever reason, it's funny how we'll know something and then we just don't apply it to something else. Like I've
Yeah.
muscle tested, I do emotion code clearing for myself. I went to my holistic vet and they're like, "Oh, you practice this? Do you do it for your dog?" It's like, duh, like why didn't I think to do it for my dog?
Yeah, but when I go to my practitioner and I'm like, I know I could have figured this out for myself, but I just want confirmation, like healer needs healing too.
Yes, we
So
do.
sometimes I really resist myself when it comes to things like that. And that's why we all need a coach or we all need a program or we all need a team, like someone on your team to get you to do the thing. Because even as somebody who knows these things, it's like, you know what, I haven't even taken all my supplements today, but I know that when I visit with my coach practitioner that we're going to talk about that and figure out why I'm kind of resisting myself in that. It's
Mm,
just one example, but
yep,
so yeah, so I especially for our health. I mean, it's the foundation of everything, right?
it is. So what's number
Um
4?
okay, number 4. Number 4 is energy levels. So if by that point I ask my clients to spend about 2 weeks in each phase to see how it helps them. If you throw everything all at once, then you don't really get to see what's helpful or what's not helpful.
Right.
So we spend 2 weeks in each phase. By this point, if energy levels aren't soaring, then it usually has to do with your either type of protein intake or lack of protein intake, or it has to do with not balancing your nervous system in the middle of the day. So
Mm,
if you're just like plowing through your day, you're not taking any breaks, you're like your break is going back on your phone, or you're not taking any time for yourself. I call them midday breaks. Then you're just going to blow out your energy circuits completely.
mhm.
So, I mean, I have a list of 20 different ideas for midday breaks from, close your eyes, drop your shoulders, take 3 deep breaths, just super simple. Some breath work. You can go outside and go for a walk. People are like, oh, but my schedule's so crazy. That's a limiting belief. It's a limiting belief. We have like 5 seconds or
Yep.
20 seconds. Some of us have 10 minutes. Those of you who work from home, my favorite midday break, if you're really feeling it and you really need to go into a place of balancing your nervous system, is a yoga nidra.
Mm.
Do you know this, Sam? Do you do? Yeah. So you can go
I've
on
never done
YouTube
it
and just,
midday though.
oh God, it's so good. It's so good. So you can do it for 5 minutes. Like look on YouTube, yoga nidra, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, however much time you have. Do the guided relaxation. You come out of it and it's like the day is just waiting for you. It's amazing. I suggest this particularly for my clients who have transitions with kids, like coming home
Mm,
off the bus or
nice.
when you get home from work and typically you'd go upstairs and get changed, just like lie down for 5 minutes and do it before you have dinner. It'll help you sleep. It's not a real nap. You're not like going deep into sleep. You're just progressively relaxing so that you feel better in the evening time, so that you have energy, so that you're teaching your body that you can relax on command.
Hmm. And even to go back to step 2, it helps us with that digestion piece, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're on the go, on the go, on the go, and you're like, I have this beautiful, healthy meal, and you're just like shoving it down, like you're not going to be able to digest it as well. So it's cool that all of these, they like flow back and forth,
Yeah,
back and
they
forth, back and
do.
forth.
Yeah. And once you get to the end of that, you're starting to make conscious choices for yourself in order to keep those things in balance. So rather than stepping on the scale and saying, has what I eaten helped me lose weight today? You're saying, have I made the conscious choices to help my body feel in balance with my mood, my digestion, my focus, and my energy levels? Am I speaking to myself in a way that helps me feel and fuel my best self so that I make those choices efficiently and effectively for my body? And
Hmm.
you set that on repeat. And then you don't want to give up on yourself because it's not the diet, it's you. It's you. Like who you don't want to give up on you.
Right.
So
And you
Yeah.
don't want to only commit to you for a season, right? Diets, like you said, you're on a diet, you're off a diet. They're not things, you have a cheat day. Like there's always like, how do I like only do it for this amount of time or till I get in the dress or till the wedding or till
Right.
these things. And like you can't give up on your life. And so it's just a different way to approach seeing yourself, about seeing health, that health is not a punishment. Like health is the
Right.
truest form of freedom, in
Yeah.
my experience, because I lost it when I was a teenager. And when you lose it, when you're supposed to be in your literal peak years, it makes you look at things different. And so just really tune into, how have I been approaching my health? Is eating a salad, do I look at that as punishment for being at a certain weight or having
Yeah.
eaten a certain way over the holiday? Um, those are like, when she's talking about that thought work, like that is where it starts, because our thoughts create our feelings, which drive our action. And then it creates this loop, and it can either be a beautiful health spiral or it can kind of be a dis-ease spiral that we get going into.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good,
Yay.
Helen. I'm like,
Oh.
could power hour with you all day.
Oh, all day, every day. I'm excited about your thing tomorrow night with Vicky.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So if you haven't seen, I've been posting it in here, but we are doing our Vibe and Embodiment membership officially kicks off this month. Our first live session is tomorrow. Our good friend Vicky Furman is coming in. She's a somatic body worker and coach, and she's going to be leading us through these really slow, intentional exercises to help us develop that connection, to go inward, and then we'll vibe it out so you can start to feel some of that free flow of like, how do I bring this mindset, this connection to my body into my daily living? So that way you don't just wake up and be like, oh my God, I got a crazy stressed out day. I've got to disconnect from my body so I can get through it. Right? Like, how many times have we just disconnected because we're like, this feels like shit. And I've still got to perform and do the thing for my job, for my family, for myself. And so we're trying to like live these two different worlds. And it's like, it's not getting us where we want to go. So it's like, how can we bridge that gap and really tune in and be our biggest advocate? So I love the work
I
that you
love that
do.
so much. I've had Vicky come in, push into my group before and do her work. And after I did a somatic session with her, I had the best run of my life. You resolved my back pain. I can't imagine you guys together is going to be like,
Oh my gosh, we're super excited. We're
this is
like,
going to be mind
how have we not
blowing.
done this yet?
Yeah. I love how you talked about bringing in like the body work, like so that it's like back to the self. And one of the things I do with my clients, and which is sort of like a surprise, they're like, wait, I'm here to lose weight or I'm here to reduce inflammation. I'm like, well, I understand that. But what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what's worth living for first, right? And so you said like your head connected to your body and all of that. And so we go through a process of making intentions for what I call like our head space, our heart space, and our body space.
Yeah.
And so it is in any moment we're prioritizing one of those things. It doesn't mean the other ones aren't important, but they're working in the background at the same time. And we get to move through all of those. We tend
Yes.
to think that it's like work is separate from my relationships, is separate from my health, but it's not. It's
Mm,
like I can take an action for my health along with my kids or for my kids and show up at work and have the energy to do my job. It's like chung, 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 chung,
mm.
chung,
Yes.
and that's like your best self is when those things come into alignment and you're like, that's why I'm eating what I'm eating. That's why I'm living how I'm living. That's why I'm doing. It's like, oh my God, of course. So that I can feel aligned and all of those things. It's all working together. It's so good.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so epic. And we don't, I mean, I used to be so compartmentalized, like the queen of compartmentalization.
Yeah.
And you feel so weird in every environment because you feel like you've released a part of yourself to be that one compartment there. And when you do feel that full integration and alignment of self, like everything amplifies. Like, picture power. I'm like building this explanation as I think of it, but it's like, you can have all of it together, or you can pull little pieces off and have a little bit of power. Or if you put all of that together, it amplifies. And that is what happens when you become more connected. You're not as disconnected. It's just so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yay.
Well, thank you for coming in, Helen. I am super geeked to share these 4 phases with everyone in this group because I grew up literally weighing myself multiple times a day. So when we had this conversation, I was like, more women need to experience this freedom. And I'm just so excited for you bringing this. It was so dynamic, like so informative. And there's so many little juicy tidbits. So definitely make sure you check out the link for understanding more of those symptoms of imbalance in the comments. And then to do more of that thought work, check out Helen. And where is there any other area where they should catch up with you, or everything is linked through that one link that I dropped into the comments?
It should show them like where I am, where I hang out, my website and everything. But I also have a Facebook group called The Energetic Way.
Cool.
So Sam, I can drop that link in here too. And I would love anybody who wants to come in. I talk more about the affirmations. I talk more about, my process and all of that. So in my private Facebook group, not private, my
Perfect.
community group.
Yes, yes, totally.
Um,
They're versed in our groups here.
yes.
Perfect. Well, I will go ahead and drop that into our group for anybody who wants to learn more
There you
about
go.
the energetic way, which it's the only way. It's the only way for that long-term health and vitality is to really understand how to start listening to your body and to
Yeah.
make those empowered choices from that stance. So I can't wait for you guys to check it out. Thank you so much, Helen, for coming in. I'm so excited that your back pain released. That is so cool. And
Totally. I feel amazing. I went back to
yeah.
CrossFit. So there you go. See,
Oh my
that's
gosh.
because I felt better. So thank you. Thank you so much for the work you do. It means the world to me to be able to be here and to have anybody listen who's in your world is it's an honor. It's a privilege, really. Thank you.
Likewise. Likewise,
Yeah.
likewise. All right, beauty. I will see you so soon and can't wait
Sounds
to
good.
just continue all the conversations.
Perfect.